I'd like to share a few remarks this morning on Veterans Day from my experience as a veteran. It was an honor and a privilege to have been given permission years ago to go on active duty as a Navy chaplain, serving both sailors and with Marines for 23 years. During that time, I was able to meet, to work with, and to minister young men and women from towns and cities all across America who came from families and homes just like your own. During peacetime, they would serve in many different ways, especially humanitarian missions or responding to natural disasters. But they'd also train for and engage during combat, responding to the needs for peace in our world. And they would serve with incredible pride, courage, strength, and faith. I was often the only priest assigned to a Navy battle group, which numbers about 7 to 8 pretty large ships, with a total of anywhere between 6,000 to 8,000 sailors aboard those ships, half of whom were Catholic. Whether I was sailing in the Pacific Ocean or the South China Seas, thousands of miles from home, I would fly from one ship to another on what was called the Holy Helo. Whenever the chaplain got on the Helo, it was called Holy. And would fly to different ships so that the Catholic sailors on each of the ships could go to confession, go to Mass, receive Holy Communion, talk about or to want to reaffirm their faith. And then when I was serving with the Marines, which included 3 combat tours in Iraq, again, I was often the only Catholic priest. I would travel in convoys, or I would fly on, Holy Helos, from Fallujah to Baghdad, to the Syrian border, to the most remote parts of Iraq, so that these young Marines, like the sailors, could receive Holy Communion, could go to confession. And on a number of occasions, I would anoint them if they had been wounded. I understood and I shared their fears, and I affirmed their courage. I would listen as they talked about their loved ones at home. I would also pray with them together that God would give us both strength and courage during combat. Quite honestly, those Marines motivated me, probably more than I motivated them. Within the military, there's a very special bond, it's kind of unique, that exists between the Catholic priest and the Catholic men and women. It's a very unique bond. And I was proud to be a priest from Boston. And I was humbled that the Lord put me in places that I never dreamed of, that I could be an instrument of God's presence and of His love for them. Quite honestly, in all of my priesthood, I never felt so humbled, so appreciated, and so needed as I felt when I served in the military. And so it gives me great honor and privilege today to be asked to celebrate this Mass on Veterans Day. To remember not only those veterans who have served our country so faithfully, many who have died, but also to pray for those who continue to serve in uniform. This morning at Mass, our server, David Campo, who's from St. Agnes Parish in Milton, Agatha's Parish in Milton, is studying not only for the Archdiocese of Boston, but he's studying to be a Navy chaplain so that he can follow in the footsteps of many Navy priests before him, serving the men and women of our military services. So it's great to have David serving Mass. I would ask you now to pray with me for those intentions that we place before God, for not only for those veterans and those who serve in the military, but for peace in our world.